Some exciting news for Gonzaga basketball fans. This is Dan Dickau for Gonzaga Nation SI on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock these last 48 to 72 hours, you knew that there was a huge buildup to the June 1st date in regards to players withdrawing their name from the NBA draft. Gonzaga looked as if they might lose all 5 starters from a season ago, where they spent the majority of the season ranked as the #1 team in all of college basketball. Well, lo and behold, 3 guys are back. Rasir Bolton was the first one to withdraw his name from the NBA draft and announce that he was going to come back for his extra year of eligibility and spend it in Spokane at Gonzaga. I think this is a tremendous announcement for Gonzaga. He was a great addition a season ago. He blended almost seamlessly from transferring from Iowa State to Gonzaga. He's a guard who kind of just fills in all the gaps, both on the offensive and defensive side of the floor. He shot over 40% from 3. He was a terrific defender. He's not a primary ball handler, but he's a good enough ball handler where he can initiate actions and put the defense in a bind when he is the ball handler in a situation. So that is a great piece of news for Gonzaga. The other fact is, culturally, in how he fits with Gonzaga and what he's done in the community of Spokane has been awesome. It's been well documented that he's given back to the community. He ran a basketball clinic with me at Shoot 360 in Spokane late in the season, where over 50 kids wanted to hear his message, wanted to hear and learn from him about the game of basketball as well as the game of life. That was awesome. But he's given back to different areas of the Spokane community, whether it's the homeless, whether it's at need communities. He's been tremendous. He's a absolute joy to have as part of the Spokane community. So that was the first positive to happen in the last 72 hours. The next one, Julian Strawther. I felt Julian Strawther was going through the NBA draft process to really learn about where he was in the eyes of NBA front offices, scouts, and evaluators. I think he did that. It sounds like he has gotten feedback because of what he did at the NBA draft combine, as far as with his physical testing, as well as his basketball skill testing that they put guys through that we touched on a week or 2 back. And then he had a couple individual workouts that sound like they went well, but he learned. I'm sure he learned. I'm sure he heard some of the feedback that was necessary for him to hear about what he needs to do to be able to have not a true shot, because he is going to get a true shot at the next level, but a shot to have a long career, longevity in the league. And that's one thing that I think not enough guys understand and are worried about. There's one thing about making the league. There's another thing about having longevity in the league. And I think a big part of having longevity in the league is being able to provide it and prove your value and worth to a team over and over and over again on a consistent basis. He was a 3rd leading scorer a season ago, but he wasn't called upon every single night to provide scoring punch. And if he can show that, prove that, provide that, I think he becomes even more valuable in the eyes of NBA scouts. And I think he is a guy who's going to have an NBA career. I think he's got a chance to have a long NBA career, but I think he made the right choice in coming back. And I think for Gonzaga fans, they're unbelievably excited to hear that news. And then they're going to be unbelievably excited to see how it transpires next year with him on the court. The last one was the biggest domino. Drew Timme announces that he is coming back to Gonzaga. I talked to a couple of people that are fairly well in the know, and even as much as 24 to 36 hours before the deadline, they had no idea which way this was going to fall, whether he was going to stay in the draft, roll the dice, see what was going to be out there for him, or come back. I think the NIL has a huge piece to play in this. I think that the fact that he has the ability to make a substantial amount of money as the face of Gonzaga basketball, as the face of college basketball, to be quite honest, I think is something that you weigh that with what it would be if you were the 35th pick in the draft and possibly looking at a two-way deal, or if you're looking at what the 50th pick in the draft might be, and if you were going to make a roster, or if they would want you to go to Europe, or if you become an undrafted player and looking at going to Europe. He had to weigh all these different factors, and he decided to come back to Spokane. I personally think that is a great decision. I am excited to see him as a former Gonzaga player coming back to Gonzaga. I look at him as now being the true face of Gonzaga basketball. There's a number of guys over the years that have been able to be that guy. John Stockton, Adam Morrison. There's been other guys for a couple year stretch that have gotten a lot of notoriety. Kelly Olynyk, Kevin Pangos, Nigel Williams-Goss. But the fact that Drew Timme is coming back and he'll be the preseason favorite, I'm sure, for National Player of the Year. It all goes well, he'll be a 3-time All-American. You're talking about rarefied air. There's been very few players that have been 3-time All-Americans in college basketball, and especially with the early entrance to the NBA draft, it's become even more rare. I go back to, kind of that early 90s, mid 90s. I look at him as a lot like Christian Laettner, as being the face of college basketball. You like him or you don't like him. You know who he is, you know the kind of player he is, and you know the program that he's involved with and that he plays for. And I think you see a lot of that with Drew Timme right now. Everybody in college basketball, whether you're a casual fan of Kentucky or Duke or Carolina, or you're a diehard of one of those programs, or you're a diehard of Gonzaga, you know Drew Timme, you know his story, you know how good he is, you know he's probably, as I said, the face of college basketball, and that's only going to do more to enhance the Gonzaga program. So I think that's one reason, I make that comment and saying he's becoming, or is the true face of Gonzaga basketball now. It's really cool to see. I think that his skill set will provide opportunities for him to play at the professional level. And he will have every chance to play at that level, and he will exhaust those opportunities when the time is right. But the time is right with NIL to come back to college. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to having him back in Spokane. I'm looking forward to the commercials with Northern Quest Casino. Walker's Furniture, I believe, is one of the others. Calling the games on regional TV as well as CBS Sports Network. He's always been a fun player to cover, to watch, to talk to when I go to practice. But a big 48 to 72 hours has just transpired for Gonzaga basketball. When you get 3 starters returning, you add that to Efton Reed, the transfer from Louisiana State. You add that to Nolan Hickman, Hunter Salas coming back, Braden Huff, terrific player out of Chicago, coming back, Anton Watson. Gonzaga basketball is not going anywhere. So for all the fans that were a little concerned over the past couple months, just take a step back, take a deep breath, enjoy the fact that Gonzaga is probably going to be preseason number 1 once again. And I believe that would be 3 years in a row that the Zags will be the number 1 ranked team going into the season. So for Gonzaga Nation SI, I'm your host, Dan Dickau, on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network.